With us today, Luke Kemper, who's the owner of Swamp Head Brewery in Gainesville, Florida. Of course, everyone wants to know what's a Swamp Head.
Swamp Head, actually, my wife and I were sitting on a couch and we were trying to figure out what we wanted to, knew we wanted to start a brewery. We were trying to figure out a good name. We came up with a couple different ideas and checked online actually, and they were all already taken, different ones that we looked at. And I didn't want to start a business already paying for a domain name. I just thought that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So essentially we were sitting there and she said, what about Swamp Head? And I looked at her and I was like, no. Told her it was terrible. But
well, wait, where did it come from?
Well, at the same time I was thinking, crap, she just came up with the best name I've heard of yet. I just didn't want to give her that recognition right away. But
you're being a shit.
But I did. She came up with it. It was
yeah, but where did it come from?
That's what I'm getting to. So we wanted to, in Florida, I mean, we've got the Floridian Aquifer, which kind of stems from the Okefenokee Swamp, coming down through there, the good water, kind of essentially the lungs and everything for the good water percolating down through that area, coming back up. So that whole idea of good water quality and everything was important to us. And then it was a fitting name where everyone loves good head on their beer. So kind of one thing led to another, and I was like,
well, it's perfect.
It's perfect.
It's perfect. So if I remember from your interview correctly, you fell in love with beer at my favorite town, Boulder, Colorado.
Yes, I went to, go ahead.
Oh, I lived there for 25 years and absolutely loved it, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm from Gainesville, so
yes.
I actually, when I graduated high school, I went to Boulder for the first 2 years of college. So I moved out there.
At the University of Colorado?
Yeah, so I was a buff, and still am a buff.
Ditto.
I didn't graduate from there, but yeah, it was an awesome place. The Flatirons, as you know, Pearl Street.
Oh yeah.
My brother's 6 years old, almost 6 years older than me, and he actually went to CSU up in Fort Collins. So, you know, we had.
What was that spring party they always had at CSU?
Oh, the 420 Fest.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah, Fair and Field turned into a big place to go out and enjoy yourself and have a good time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the other wicked weed.
Yeah, exactly. the cousin of the hop.
The cousin, yes. So you fell in love with beer there. Were you home brewing? I didn't get.
No, actually, I had never brewed a batch of beer in my life.
So you walked into a brewery.
Basically, long story short, my brother, being older than me, was always bringing beer back from Colorado, from New Belgium, actually. Most of it was coming there in Odell's.
Bootlegging from New Belgium.
Yeah,
I love
Odell's in New Belgium. So
20, 30 years ago, it was bootlegging Coors.
Coors, exactly. He was
and now it's New
craft
Belgium.
Beer. Yeah.
What a riot.
So he was bringing it back in. When going to school out there, you know, anytime we'd go camping or doing something, he'd bring down kegs and we'd go out and have a good time. But then, long story short, when I ended up back in Gainesville, I was going to go to grad school, but I got sidetracked. My stepdad's good friend, Craig Berkmeyer, had been brewing in his garage since like 2002, and I was like, dude, these beers are awesome. I hadn't brewed beer, but I drank a lot of beer. I'd spent a lot of time drinking beer. Something I thought I was pretty good at.
Yeah.
And
drinking beer.
Yeah. I'm sure we all think we're good at drinking beer.
Yeah, we're good at drinking beer. Speaking of which.
Exactly. But so he'd won a bunch of awards, both on the homebrew circuit, locally, regionally, and a couple, I think, even McCab, so national awards. So I was able to get some money together and basically hired him, and we went down and purchased some equipment down south of us a little bit, down in the villages, moved it up, and spent about it seems like an eternity, probably a year actually getting it all hooked up ourselves. We cut out the trench drains, did all the piping.
Well, wait a second. Your stepdad's buddy is a garage brewer.
Correct.
You fall in love with his beer.
Yes.
Then there's this pause, and then I raised a bunch of money.
Then Swamp Head Brewery started. Yeah. We jumped in, no idea what we were doing. I'd never run a business.
You raised a bunch of money, found some equipment, bought it, and started running a brewery.
Yeah, and we've been just learning every day, making mistakes left and right, but trying to grow from them and having a lot of fun.
What was the most bizarre mistake you've made?
I don't know I guess one of the things was when we were ready to start selling products, we realized that we actually had to register our brands with the state.
Oh, you forgot about that.
We didn't know that. I didn't know that was part of the something you needed to do. Apparently, they frown on that. So we had to sit there for another, I think it was 60 days. You know, ready to sell beer.
Are you kidding? 60 days with a beer in the tank?
And we were like, we can't sell it. We did a lot of drinking. We made sure to keep quality control and testing, but we couldn't actually sell it. And it had been since I purchased the equipment in, I guess it'd be August 2008. We didn't sell our first batch of beer until November 2009. So there's a lot of downtime. We did everything. We did it the slow and arduous way. I'm not sure I would do it that way next time.
Well, did you guys assemble the equipment, disassemble it, move it, and assemble it yourself?
We were driving down for a week straight. We disassembled everything, which was, we needed some hands-on experience because we didn't know how any of this stuff worked. I mean, he'd been homebrewing on his Berkmeyer 3000 homebrew setup, you know, a little brew sculpture he had built himself.
Okay, this is seriously crazy.
So it was kind of just, it's the entrepreneurial spirit, you know, just diving in head first and hope you learn how to swim.
I don't know if that's what the entrepreneur spirit is exactly.
No, I'm with you.
But it's a good story.
No, I'm with you.
Well, this is kind of interesting because something else that came up in your interview is that you're very keen on the local focus, ethical management,
yes,
and high standards of quality. That kept coming up throughout your interview. And I mean, it's kind of interesting when you put that up against this scrambling, making up as you go, learning as you go, and then surround it with these very serious concepts.
I think, I mean, yes, I kind of make light of it all, you know, and say we just dove in head first, and we did. But you know, I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by other people who are smarter than I am, you know, understand the company culture and what we're trying to do, and everyone every day works as hard as possible to make sure that those things happen. And we, like, people always ask, you know, just in Gainesville, in our little small area, you know, like, wow, you guys have been successful. What's helped you be so successful? And to me, it seems like a no-brainer. You want to run a business that people in town are happy to have. You want to make sure the liquid is good, obviously. But you just want to, everything you attach your name with and do, you want to make sure you're doing it the best you possibly can. So we may be slow about stuff, but it's because we want to make sure that when we do it right.
How do you communicate that to your customers? How do your customers come to understand that that's what's driving your business?
I think, like I said, I constantly make sure to advocate it, but also I think the way we deal with the customer and the way we deal with our distributor and the way the bars interact with us and the communication we give to them is the same from the top and the bottom. You know, we want to make sure that there is no, I guess, discrepancy on how people perceive what we're doing. We want to make sure we don't want to sacrifice anything to give a, you know, to get this product out faster, or just to satisfy this one customer. We need to think of a bigger picture, you know, like if we do this for them, is that going to irritate other people? You know, let's just stay back and we'll make sure to, even though they may be frustrated, there's a bigger cause here. You know, we want to make sure we're not irritating or alienating people.
So you've built raving fans, I imagine.
We have, in Gainesville, and I mean, we don't have a whole lot of product outside of Gainesville yet because pretty most of it's getting consumed in the Gainesville and the surrounding areas. We have 2 distributors. We deal with Cone Distributing, who services, in Florida it's a 3-tier state, so we have to sell through a distributor.
Yeah.
We have a tasting room, which does very well, and then the rest of the beer, or most of the beer is sold to distribution, some of it's in the tasting room. But a lot of it goes to Cone Distributing, who services Gainesville. Obviously, we're in Gainesville, so a lot of it gets consumed there. We've taken a town that didn't care about really craft beer as much. There was maybe 1 or 2 craft beer bars when we started 3 years ago, and I don't even know how many there are now, and how many bars that didn't ever care about craft beer that aren't necessarily a craft beer bar, but they now carry craft beer because they've seen the response that we've helped do. And it's just been amazing. I mean,
so what's your barrel age now after 3 years?
After 3 years, last year we did 3,700 barrels. We're on a 10-barrel, 2-vessel system. We just got in some new tanks this year, so we're actually looking at doing upwards. We just got the tanks line, so this year it'll probably be close to 6,500.
Okay.
So double again, basically.
That's nice.
So that's what we're going for.
How do you maintain that relationship with your core customers? Obviously, local's really important. So you've got this market. How are you keeping? I'm really interested in your dynamic with your customer because you've got so many strong elements of that.
I mean, that's something that we're actually, as we start to get more product, especially, and the product's going to reach further than Gainesville, we're 99% draft. I mean, we've done a very small, select, limited bottle releases and a 750. As we get bigger, or the beer is able to get to more locations, that has definitely become even more important. So we're trying to work on not only our, getting a sales rep who can actually get out there and who embodies our culture and liking to get outside. Excuse me. Doing outdoor activities, caring about craft beer, being sustainable, being able to create that relationship between them. And as far as the customers, I'm fortunate I've got a guy, Brandon Nappy, who does a lot of social media, between Facebook, Twitter. We don't spend any money on actual advertising, but through those avenues, we have our fan base has grown. I think we're close to 10,000 fans now on there, and we get calls all the time saying, what you guys are doing and what he's posting is awesome. We enjoy following you. We can't wait to check it every couple of days. It just keeps us captivated. So I think to answer your question is just making sure that you're still engaging them and somehow creating some sort of communication where they feel like they're a part of it. In Gainesville, they all feel a part of it through the tasting room as well as watching us grow. They see pictures online of new tanks coming in or a new account that has all 5 of our core beers on.
So you're building and/or expanding the fan base almost exclusively through social media.
Yeah, a lot of it is through that for sure.
Interesting. You did make a comparison with New Glarus as kind of a model for how you think about things. I thought that was interesting. 100,000 barrels all within one state?
I think I saw a stat today. I think they might have either 120 or 140, but yeah, all in Wisconsin. And we're doing under 4,000, so I think we've got a long way to go to be able to even
good role model.
Yeah, exactly.
Good role model.
If we can do that, that would be fantastic. It just shows too. That's a state that's populated with other breweries and has been populated with other breweries. It's not like I'm sure they're popping up there just like everywhere else around the country. Florida has grown significantly in the last really 3 years. I think that by the end of this year, they're expecting close to 60 plus breweries and brew pubs in Florida. So that's a big jump from 10 years ago we were at like 25 total.
Florida's been one of the last markets.
It's been kind of an oasis wasteland.
Yeah. But from what I've heard from talking with other brewers, they've been there. The brewers didn't come.
Yes.
And as soon as they were there, it was like, great.
Yeah, it's been awesome. So to see that growth.
I'm also noticing that in your interview, you're not actually referencing a lot of other brewers as mentors and inspirations aside from New Glarus. You've kind of got this sort of, here's where I'm going, here's how I'm getting there. This is my mission, these are my ground rules.
Yeah, no, and I'm sure I adapt things and assimilate ideas and concepts, when I'm going around without even realizing it. We're always looking. There's no need to try to reinvent the wheel, but because of the fact that I hadn't worked in the brewing industry and I hadn't been doing a lot of that stuff before I jumped into it, I didn't have those mentors. And we're so busy at Swamp Head, I don't often even have time to constantly keep up with what other people are doing and how great of a job they're doing. I know craft beer is booming. I know everyone's having fun, but we get stuck there on a day-to-day basis. Everything that we're doing on the production side, there's 2, 3, and there's basically 6 guys making all that beer and packaging it all.
That's amazing. Speaking of, let's talk about this beer that you brought.
So this is our pale ale called Stump Knocker. It's about 5.6% ABV.
Stump Knocker.
Stump Knocker.
We got another swamp term here, right?
Well,
what's a Stump Knocker?
Stump Knocker is actually a spotted sunfish in the area. So
it's a fish.
It's a fish, yeah. So on the label, you actually see we've actually got a fish on the label.
Oh, isn't that great?
So we, it's a hoppy American pale ale, a little hop forward. We use Amarillo and Centennial. You're gonna get it's got a nice malt backbone though, so you still get
What's the Amarillo contributing, do you think?
The Amarillo, we use a lot of that towards knockout and in the dry hopping. So you're getting a lot of kind of citrus, a little fruitiness from it. So that's where you're getting more in the volatiles, the nose, and everything else. This was actually our first time we've actually put this beer in a bottle. This won't be served in this vessel. We actually just got can approval.
So you did what?
We just got can approval. This is a 750. We won't be doing our core beers in 750s, but we just got a Maheen, and so on our first run we had I think 38% loss, something like that, of our beers. So I was like, before we do any more of our limited releases or specialty beers, let's run one of our core beers through and kind of dial it in. So after running our second time running, I think we were up to only a 10% loss. So now we've gone back to doing some limited beers again. But so that's why we had this beer. So we needed to do some practice.
Yeah.
So
practice on the regular stuff.
Absolutely. Stuff that we know we're going to make again.
It's fun. What's the ABV?
About 5.6.
That's a nice beer.
So it's nice. It's easy drinking, well balanced. Like I said, a little hop forward.
Yeah, the malt lays down a good base.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
We really try to make sure that our beers are balanced, so that, you know, we get a lot of people who come in, especially being in Florida, as you said, you know, kind of a beer wasteland. It's evolving and changing, but a lot of people come in and they've only had a Coors Light, or, you know, they've always been a Bud Light drinker, and oftentimes they'll leave there enjoying our IPA, which, you know, is the furthest beer you would think that they'd actually like, but because we have enough malt sweetness to balance out that bitterness, they're finding themselves enjoying them. They're also finding after one or two that they need to slow down and not drink them like they're drinking their other beers, but it's been a fun experience.
Well, I think this beer would be filling.
Yes.
So they wouldn't go too far with it.
No.
Well, listen, I want to stay in touch. Best of luck.
Thank you very
much. I think
much.
Your startup story is one of the more innovative ones I've ever heard.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it. We're having fun, and we're just hoping that everyone else enjoys it as much as we do.
Well, thanks for your time, and thanks for your beer.
Thank you.
What a hoot.